Welcome to That's the Word, wholesome tales for the whole family. I'm Father James Yamauchi. Today's story, The Field of Diplomacy. An officer popped into the tent. The embassy is here. The general nodded. He hoped that this time he could get the enemy to concede to some of his terms. Previous negotiations had been pretty unsuccessful. The general could not get the one term he demanded. From the way they acted, you wouldn't think that the enemy realized half of their country was being invaded. Diplomacy did not interest him nearly as much as battle. Give him a company of able soldiers over a room full of decrepit old men any day. Hopefully, this time, his terms would be met. He left his tent and went to meet the embassy. Unsurprisingly, aside from the aides and assistants, they were mostly old men. One older man, who appeared to be the leader, stepped forward and began speaking with the general. The general discovered pretty quickly that these delegates did not represent the country, but merely the town which would in short order be the next victim of the general's ongoing war. There was nothing to be gained in this negotiation. But then again, there was nothing to lose by letting them say their piece. The embassy certainly sensed the general's displeasure. They knew that they were at the mercy of a man who had killed in droves and leveled cities. A number of the old men shifted nervously. However, the leader of the embassy showed neither fear nor anxiety. He entreated, but without weakness. We pray for mercy and deliverance. Thou hast subdued the whole circle of the lands which it was granted to our country to conquer. The people have felt thy scourge. Now, as suppliants, they would feel thy mercy. The general looked the town's leader over. He had no time for the quaking old men, but he was impressed by the leader's courage and his demeanor in the face of a veritable scourge of the earth. We do not have certain details about how the negotiation ended. Suffice it to say that the general did retreat and pull back his armies without attacking the embassy's town. There are stories that 2 men with swords appeared to the general threatening death if he did not listen to the town's leader. But even if they did appear, they do not minimize the effect the town's leader had on this ruthless general. A general who was not easily impressed. This general had, before this point, laid waste to an entire continent and decimated civilizations with his army. Before this great terror, representing the targeted town, was a man who did not command armies, but could repel a barbarian general. So went the meeting of 2 legendary men, the Bishop of Rome, Pope St. Leo the Great, and the general, Attila the Hun. And for this week, that's the word. One of the great altars at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome is the altar above the tomb of St. Leo the Great. And above this altar is a relief depicting this event between St. Leo the Great and Attila the Hun. And it also shows the 2 men who had threatened Attila, Saints Peter and St. Paul, who of course are the patrons of Rome.
Another thing he mentioned in the story was the terms that Attila the Hun wanted from the empire. And those terms were he wanted the emperor's daughter in marriage and half the empire as dowry.
What kind of negotiation is that?